time to put down your rod and pick up your headphones. Join JC and Andy from Ebb Tide Tackle for The Outflow, the podcast talking all things lure fishing with hardcore fishers from all over the world.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Outflow. It's John riding solo this week with just me and a guest. There's no Andy. He was going to drive over for the podcast, but he's got a stack on, selling boats, and his house is on the market, so there's heaps going on there. But I've got a guest here that I'll introduce you to pretty soon. Heaps going on in the ebb tide world, all the usual stuff coming and going from the shop. But how good's the tuna fishing been? I was out there the other week with Marto from Burley Pro, out from Barwon Heads, and had a pretty epic session. The summer tuna just seems to get better and better, and now moving into autumn, hopefully we get some stable weather, and I think ocean temps stay the way they are, the kings will hang around for a bit, and these tuna aren't really showing any signs of leaving anytime soon. So here's to stable weather, flat seas, and some really good pelagic fishing coming up. But enough of that. Got a guest here with me, right alongside me in the studio. Great mate, long time mate, Gawaine Blake.
All right, mate.
I'm good. I'm good, and it wrapped to have you here.
No worries. Pleasure.
We've done a lot of fishing together, heap of stuff together. Just been good old fashioned mates for a long time.
Yeah.
But we've never actually filmed together or done nothing like this. We just fish and hang out. So wrapped to have you on.
Yeah, now the pressure's on, eh?
Now the pressure's on. It's good to not film with people sometimes because it creates a whole new pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
it does. But podcasts are easy. There's no donuts, so
yeah, you can't even see how ugly I am.
Yeah. No cameras. Don't need that. No one needs that. So, welcome to The Outflow. I don't see any reason why you can't be a semi-regular guest, mate.
Yeah, big pleasure. We've got plenty of time up my sleeve nowadays, so yeah.
You have, mate. You're a guy who's got some changes going on, and they make me jealous. They really, really do.
Yeah, we'll work on yours.
Yeah. All in good time. All in good time. But I know the Blakey story. Look, for people out there that most people of our listeners would know Gawaine Blake, but we do go around the world. Gawaine is one of the owners and founder of Salt Guide, which is I guess I'll give you my version of it. It's an information sharing platform where the two main guides, Aaron Hapgood and Gawaine, give predictive fishing reports for basically Melbourne Metro saltwater reports of based on your experience, the tide and the moon, and what's been going on in terms of ocean currents. And I guess last week's report might inform a little bit of predictiveness of this week's report, but it's not just on what's going on, it's what you think will go on.
Yeah.
And it's
basically for 25 years we've watched what tackle shops put up, and they're basically giving you information which happened last week off last week's moon phase, last week's weather patterns, and the fish that's dead. So what we're trying to do now is be, the Jade Buns of fishing, so to speak, is we watch the weather pattern coming, the moon phase, the tidal conditions, the swells, everything we can think of, even air temperature, and we put together a report of what we think is going to happen over the next 7 days.
Which is pretty unique.
Yes.
I don't think too many tackle reports go to, there might be the odd prediction, but I think they're largely based on what happened this week leads to that prediction, not all that other information.
And we're very tidal where we fish. Metro Melbourne, very tidal. You're talking 1 week to another, it's a totally different tidal system.
Yeah.
You're fishing an ebb tide in the morning one weekend, and the next weekend's a flood tide in the morning, and it's a totally different strength of tide, weather patterns, and all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to put all that together with my knowledge and Aaron's knowledge, which is well over 40 years. And I hung out and grew up commercial fishing, so I got all those information off the old guys too. And it's actually started to make me think and remember a lot of stuff from back when I grew up as well. And we've put all that together, and hopefully Well, we know they're catching fish. We've got a lot of members and they're catching a hell of a lot of fish. So
Yeah. You what, a couple of years you've been going now, maybe longer?
We're into our 4th year.
4th, there you go. Wow.
Yeah.
And from chats I've had with you and from what you can see, Salt Guide seems to go from strength to strength. If I could have, I guess my fishing background in metropolitan Melbourne probably goes back, say, 20 years in Metro Melbourne. If Salt Guide existed back then, you could not have taken my money quick enough in terms of fast tracking learning.
Well, I think in the last probably 5 to 6 years, you would have seen a change where now there is people fishing 12 months of the year instead of hanging up your boots and snap a season through till just after Easter and backing your boat away and going bush or whatever.
Well, people used to
now there's a lot of boats out there.
What were those insurances called? A put away or something?
Yeah, winter docking or dry docking.
Yeah, it's like where you get a discount on your boat insurance because you don't use it 3 months of the year, and you actually have put a cover on it, forget it existed.
Dry store, I think.
Dry store, yeah. Why would you do that? Like people used to. I never did. I always fished when I could, but it just made no sense at all to me. And the opportunities that we have in Victoria, I think to a good extent, I reckon even this go as far to yourself, mate. We're still working them out.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to learn in our fishery. Which you look at, the guys overseas, America and stuff, where they've got 200 years on us,
right?
Living in that country, and
right?
What they've learned over there, we're still taking baby steps in some of our fishing.
Sure. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? In terms of, we've got a city of 4 or 5 million people and plenty of fishermen in it, and a lot of commercial fishermen too. But how little we know.
Yeah. Yep.
Let alone those places that are more remote. And obviously Melbourne's not remote at all, but it is still a big ocean out there.
Yeah. But the other side of things, you see what our actual fisheries agencies do, like Fisheries Victoria. They are spending quite a lot of money and a lot of effort now learning more about our species.
Yeah, mate.
So they're trying to get ahead of that, and they're looking after our custodialship of our fishery is really good.
That's a great word. Custodians, or a slightly different word that I use is we're stewards of the fishery, and got some really good mates, quite high up in fisheries management in this state, and the passion that they've got for rec fishing and for our stocks, our environment is really heartening, really, really in good hands.
Yeah, I've always been open book with fisheries. I really enjoy helping them. I've done quite a bit with them.
Yeah, you've done a lot of research, haven't you?
And it's really good to see they're spending money well. They're putting a lot of research in, and it's not just locked in one area. It's statewide. It's really good.
Fresh and sold. Estuary to offshore. I know. I hope I'm not talking out of school, but kingfish are being looked at currently. Some concerns around that. We might have a chat about that later and get your own views. There's been some amazing work being done in the freshwater. We're seeing estuary perch stockings. We're seeing mulloway. Just it's fantastic.
Yeah, really good. I'd like to see more mulloway central, but what they're doing, and it's probably a test too.
A lot of marches
going out regional because it's gotten less pressure, so it gives
they've got a better chance.
Better chance of the fish doing a natural thing. So that's good to see.
Some of them are almost probably experimental stockings. See how it goes, and then it's like, okay, might build to something better in the future.
Yeah, but no, it's definitely a good thing.
It is. So let's wind it all back, man. You hail from England.
Yeah, I'm a POM. Well, I call myself Australian.
You're pretty Australian. You may have been born in another country, but I
don't associate being English. No.
And I know there's an old photo of you on I don't know, it might have been your dad's, your granddad's commercial fishing boat in England. I've seen that a few times. When you're a little whippersnapper. But your fishing career really kicked in when you got to Australia, or were you really a fisherman still?
I was probably the old style fisherman where we're a hippie family, pretty self-sufficient. We literally hunted in winter and fished in summer. And back in those days, there wasn't really commercial licensing. You could pretty much do what you wanted to do.
In England, you mean?
In England, yeah. So we purse seined mullet on the beach.
Yeah.
The only real license was salmon and sea trout. So if we caught them in the nets, we legally let them go. But yeah, we used to do that. We used to spin off the rocks. We used to catch gars over there. The gar in England looks like a lontong.
Yep.
Double beak. Used to get them, mackerel, pollock, sea trout, that sort of stuff off the rocks, just spinning. And then, just hunting mainly for pheasant and stuff like that.
Oh, for pheasant, I was going to say, because it isn't big game
highly regulated.
Yeah, and it's for the rich.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like fallow deer and
my granddad owned property, so he was classed as rich.
Yeah.
But we had 3 properties adjacent to my granddad's. It was sort of the lords and ladies, and they used to have pheasant drives.
So cool.
The pheasants that didn't get shot ended up at my granddad's farm.
Fantastic.
Which I just blew away.
As any self-respecting hunter-gatherer would.
Yeah, as a teenager, it was a great environment to grow up in. Like you could literally, I remember walking the streets with, a 410 shotgun.
Yeah.
And going to the back paddocks and shooting pheasants and stuff. And
no one had batted an eyelid.
No.
Kid walking down the street with a gun.
Yeah.
So what age did you immigrate to WA, wasn't it?
1988, we moved to WA. We were there for 13 months, and it was probably the first state to get the first part of the recession. So work dried up for Dad, who was a carpenter, and we moved to Victoria. But WA was it was just amazing. The fishing there was sensational. I was catching 20-pound snapper off the pier in Rockingham, 40-pound mulloway. Winter, we were catching 12 to 14 pound silver drummer off the rocks, just using 3 kilo mono. So I learnt really fast how to fight and angle fish.
And you would have learnt very fast that the fishing was a lot better in Australia than England.
Yeah, totally. And then also learnt very, very fast how shit Victoria was compared to WA. Yeah, the snapper fishing back then was, we moved to Mornington to Snapper Point, and Dad sold it to me. It's Snapper Point. The pier's called Snapper Point.
Sounds good. Snapper Point.
Yeah, go down there and seen some Italian dude wind in. I didn't even know what it was because I hadn't seen a snapper under sort of 18 pounds back then.
So what is this little thing?
What is it? And I actually asked the guy, I said, what's that, a pink brim? And he went to slap me. It was like a 23 centimetre snapper or something like that. And that put me in the doldrums for a while.
So that was that like early 80s, 81 or something?
That was 89.
89.
Yeah.
I moved to Melbourne in 91.
Yeah.
And I used to look at Port Phillip Bay and just see the scallop dredges going up and down off Seaford.
Yeah, I did that.
And I was just like, man, there can't be any fish here.
Yeah, so I actually got work experience on a cray boat in WA as a 13-year-old during summer. That was pretty good. The cray industry over there was phenomenal compared to here. Got into school here, didn't go too well in school. I was just one of those ragtag kids that wasn't into learning.
Can relate. I can relate.
So I just spent as much time as I could down Rye Pier, and I ended up...
You're on the peninsula, right?
I lived in Tookarook, Rye. So we lived on the peninsula, spent as much time as I could in Rye Pier. Long story short, I ended up meeting Phil Stevens, that was the owner-operator of Rip Charters, still going. He offered me a job as a decky, and I jumped at it. I ended up living on his boat at the moorings. He'd go home each night. Me and another decky lived on the boat. We had the run of the bay with the tinny after work from 4 p.m. We could do anything with the tinny we wanted to do with the tender, and lived on the boat. And that eventuated that I then met an old guy called Lewis Ferrier at Queenscliff. Back in those days, Phil would do the summer season here, and he'd spend winter in Harvey Bay doing whale watching and stuff. And I was only coming up towards 15 years old. I didn't want to, be that far away from my family. So I got a job fish trapping out of Queenscliff. Back then, I used to just go over on a Monday. I used to drive a 9-foot punt that I brought with a 4 horsepower. I used to store the punt in the trees across the road from mum and dad's at Tookaroo. In the foreshore.
That'd last a long time now.
It would be gone. But back in those days, literally throw it in the tree, walk home with a 4 horsepower on my back, and drive it over every Monday and come home Fridays. So I still have my weekends with my mates and stuff from school. And yeah,
so you said fish traps, running baited fish traps.
Yeah,
sure.
Baited caged fish traps. Mainly back in those days, it was just the parrotfish and blue throat, and we were probably the guys that started that blue throat industry because there wasn't many of us back then.
Were you supplying that live seafood industry?
Yeah, right. Live, and our fish were going to Sydney and Melbourne.
Yep.
Back then, I think by memory, we were getting around about $15 a kilo.
So you're a teenager, right?
Yeah, I was 16.
Yeah.
And I did that until the age of, I was probably 17 and 8 months, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a cray boat came up. And back then, full recession, Dad had no work. It totally dried up. He mortgaged the house to get the cray boat. I went and did my coxswain's ticket at the age of 17 and 8 months, but they wouldn't issue till I was 18.
Yeah.
But back those days, things were a lot easier. So we fiddled the hours for Dad, and Dad went and got his coxswains.
Right.
And Dad was the legal skipper.
Yeah, gotcha.
And all he was doing was baiting my pots and throwing them over for me because I was running the boat.
You were running the boat.
So from the age of 17 to 19, I ran a cray boat in the Rip, mainly in the Rip. We had a 19 pot license, but basically with the tide window, your pots would get the actual pressure of the tide on the pot rope would pull the buoys under. So you got a window of about 40 minutes to an hour where you could have to pull the pots in. So we ran.
That's your whole time to like check and rebait.
Yeah. Rebait, get them back down.
Yeah.
So we did that, and I changed my other 4 pots. Back then you could do it, and I don't know if you still can now, but I changed them to parrotfish pots, to fish traps.
Oh yeah.
So we get up bait because there was no size limit on parrotfish back then. You keep your bigger ones for the live fish market, and the smaller ones would use cray bait.
Yeah.
And and then when I could, I'd drop a lead line over the side and hang on and try not to get ripped in by kingfish, up to 20 kilos in the rip.
By some of the halcyon days of kingfish in the rip, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was big time. And it was, I mean, we talk about the odd argument on the water nowadays, but back then, if you weren't happy with someone, you'd drive over and throw your anchor in their boat and drive off sideways and try to capsize them.
That's fairly radical.
I've seen some pretty scary stuff. Well, I wasn't one of them.
That's very radical.
Yeah, and just punch-ons at the ramp, like full punch-ons. But
when men were men, right?
Men were men and kings were kings. Yeah.
Now it's blokes on the internet threatening to throw sinkers.
And the kings are rats.
Wow. So were you ever involved with that the rip kingfish side in a commercial sense, or that was just you fishing?
Yeah, I had a master fisherman's license, which back then I'm not too in touch with it anymore. I've still got mates in it, but back then a master fisherman's license is the license you need to be a commercial operator, and that license was you could legally catch fish in a zone which was offshore. It wasn't an inshore zone. You need a different one for the base, but it was an offshore zone up to 15 nautical mile off. You could catch any sort of fish apart from bluefin. Bluefin was a different license.
Yep.
You catch any fish, so snapper, gummies, whiting, anything on rod and reel or hand line, squid kings, the whole lot.
Yeah.
And then from that, once you had that license, you buy the endorsements. So you could buy an abalone endorsement or a crayfish endorsement.
It's clearly not that simple now. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. But, so did offshore begin at the rip?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We sold the odd king. To be honest, I ate most of them. We weren't catching that many because it wasn't a priority. It was more like, let's have a bit of fun.
They were the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gee, I was just thinking, man, dropping cray pots in the rip, you must have lost some pots in there.
Yeah, heaps. The worst one for us, because you got you've got the lighthouse leads. You've got the black and the white lighthouse. They call 2 lights. That is what the ships have to go in at. And they've got either side of that, they've got the red and the green beacon. So you've got the red beacons, the western leads, and the green beacons, the eastern leads. That is their parameter of if you're in shit, don't go past them.
Yep.
But they're supposed to go in at 2 lights.
So the 2 lights is the preferred leads.
Yes.
But your green and reds are your outer limits.
Yeah, they're sort of the white lines in the end of the highway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're hitting the ripple strips.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So the only boat that turned early was the Able Tasman back then. Was it called the Able Tasman? So if the Able Tasman, because we'd never dropped the pots 2 lights because you knew the ships would clean them up.
I can't imagine that would have been welcome or a good idea.
No, well, the ships didn't care because they just churned through them.
Yeah, true. But you're not going to stop them, are you?
No, but every Wednesday back then, it was every Wednesday and Friday. It wasn't every day at the Able Tasman.
No, there was a period
3 times
for a long
week.
time. Yeah.
But yeah, every now and then it'd get me and clean up a couple of pots. It was annoying because, potentially $2,000 worth of craze in it. And you're talking 1990, so $2,000 worth of craze now would probably be $10,000 worth of craze.
Yeah, that's expensive, and not to mention the hardware you've lost. There's no crate potting in the Rip anymore, is it? I can't say I've ever seen them, but
you can do it, but yeah, unless they're going to pay me for the marks and not getting them.
Yeah. I just can't recall ever seeing.
No, the guys don't do it because they don't know. It's a whole new era, a whole new. All the guys that I fished with or fished against back then are either dead or retired.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because I was the young scallywag, and they were all 50 to most of them are over 50, so most of them are in the ground now.
Yeah, for sure. If you were the youngest back in the day, then they'd be old men or goodbye. Yeah. So at some point you did a building apprenticeship, because you've obviously been a builder a big part of your life as well.
Yeah. So in amongst the fish trapping and before I got crane, I did quite a few other little trips here and there. I've done the Orange Roughy down at Tassie, long lining out of Apollo Bay, tangle netting gummies, which was pretty interesting. We actually got an 18-foot drowned white in the net.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so crays, you get crays in the nets too. Did all that, and then my brother invited me to a party. This is when I was craying. He invited me to a party, and I went to a party and met a girl, and actually probably had my first relationship. And to the point I just went, I don't want to cray anymore.
Don't tell me college your first love.
No. No. But
I wasn't too sure about that.
Yeah, so I left crane, sold out to Dad's disgust. We sold out of crane, and I got jobs on the squid and scallop boats where you'd go away back in those days. You go away scalloping for 3 or 4 days, and you only do that twice a month because you get your quotas.
Yep.
You'd earn $6,000.
That's huge. Is that out of San Remo?
That was we were scalloping in the bay before they shut the bays.
Yeah, right.
So that was just a daily thing. And then we end up doing Bass Strait out of Queenscliff and right down, past King Island to Tassie pretty much. And the boats only do 9 knots. So it's a 21-hour to a 28-hour steam before you're on the grounds. So a lot of your time's actually travel, not fishing.
Huge.
We did all that. And I just eventually came in from a trip with that and met Kylie on a blind date and decided maybe it's time to settle down, and got myself an apprenticeship and followed Dad's footsteps, so to speak, and became a carpenter. And from there, I was running the odd charter boat, filling in on the weekends, trying to make up for apprentice wages, because you go from earning
good fisherman money.
Yeah, up to $12,000 a month to maybe $120 a week, I think it was back then.
And that's kind of the lot of the commercial fishermen, isn't it? Like feast or famine.
Yeah. Yeah, if the fish
are there. It's a bit like farming.
Yeah, if the fish are there and the scallops are there, and obviously the market is the main thing. Yeah. Because you can catch the fish, but if the market collapses.
Yeah.
Like we were hand lining.
Well, like now with
craze.
With craze,
and everything
with
around.
COVID.
Yeah,
it's
craze, prawns, everything you can think of.
it's cheap, and from what I'm led to believe is that crayboats are operating for the hell of it, not for profit.
No, yeah, and you'd probably find that they're only keeping enough to keep things going, and probably coughing or releasing fish as well.
Yeah,
but we did one season. The skipper I was working for on one of the scallop boats, he got a hand lining license for bluefin, and we were hand lining out of St. Helens in Tassie, hand lining bluefin, which is pretty cool. But that was a Japanese market, and the emperor died back then, and the market collapsed, and it was like cat food. You couldn't sell them, so we just gave up.
It's crazy how things boom and bust in this caper.
Yeah, just exactly like farming.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, like when the going's good, you can make ridiculous money, but you want to save it because there'll be hard times coming.
Your tax relief through through the fishing industry is actually agricultural.
Yeah,
tax relief is exactly the same as farmers.
Right.
So yeah, they're classed the same way too.
Yeah. Okay. So you came in and out of both commercial fishing and building, and also then chartering.
Yeah, I was filling in mainly for Game Wreck. It was back then.
Oh yeah,
owned by Andrew Maloof, and just filling in charters for a couple of mates, Marcus Gorman, mainly for him, Baz.
Yep.
And then just
Baz
enjoying
is
fishing.
a good fella. He's a friend of the show.
Yeah, he's great guy, Baz. Just filling in for him and just enjoying carpentry and time with Kylie, as much as she wouldn't believe it. And just sort of, because I moved to Western Port, starting to learn a new fishery again. The Western Port is very similar to the Rip, like learning tides and stuff. But slowly but surely learning Western Port and creating a fishery that's become like, I know my style of fishing has changed quite a bit for quite a few people.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely it has. But you ended up skippering Think Big?
Yeah, so I was owner operator of
Yeah.
Think Big with Winger.
Yeah.
Skippered that for 4 years. Just found that the boat itself wasn't lucrative enough. It's only licensed for inshore fishing. The boat
and is it 4 people or 5 or something?
I was 6. It was licensed
6.
for 6, but like you put 6 people on it, you might as well start putting oil on them because it's like a tin of sardines.
Yeah,
it's not comfortable fishing.
Yeah.
So then brought Big Time as well. We called Big Time. We brought that off Sharky.
That aluminium boat.
So yeah, that was the 8.2 meter alley farm.
Yep.
So that had an offshore
alley farm.
What
a name.
Yeah. And so that had the offshore endorsement. So then that opened up, tuna fishing, kingy fishing, all that sort of stuff. And it sort of happened in the early days of us starting to catch local kings offshore on a regular basis instead of just bycatch and stuff. So that was really good, and just got to the stage that basically I was intervened by the family, sort of. I was never home. I missed every weekend. I missed every birthday. I missed my niece's birthdays, my mates' birthdays, and decided to pull the pin on chartering and go back hard into carpentry and doing the odd guides just to feed the famine sort of thing.
Yeah, I remember those days. Probably you and me picked up around midway through probably your Big Time days.
Yeah.
And you or other guys are no different here. I can't get over how probably snapper season's the worst of it, in my opinion, from what I see, where you guys will run 3 6-hour charters a day.
Well, yeah, snapper and the gummies because no one else was doing it as well.
Yeah.
I remember doing 74 hours straight in the boat chartering.
That's not healthy for anyone's mind, man.
No.
That's crazy.
My memory's not right anymore.
Yeah. Like, anyone listening to this will know that those weekends, long weekends, short holidays where you've fished really hard and you've got up super early, stayed up late, you've done a lot of driving, how wrecked you are when you go back to work. That's your life.
Yeah. Oh, it was just deadly dangerous.
It's so dangerous, man.
You don't even realise it, and you're halfway down the bay. Basically, you're driving back or down to a mark or whatever, and
How do I get here?
yeah, you forget even how you get here. You probably haven't been asleep, but your mind's
You might as well have been, mate.
Yeah, and it's dangerous for you. It's dangerous for your customers. It's dangerous for the other people around you. But yeah, I used to take.
It's not ideal.
I used to take a decky out for those afternoon charters, and if I needed a sleep, I would have a sleep. But yeah, it was
once you got on the mark and set up.
Yeah.
The I've had people over the years mention to me about, would you charter, would you guide, would you do this and that and the other, and there's a whole bunch of questions in that. But for me, the whole concept of being a charter operator, I think it would ruin fishing for me.
Yeah, it sort of did for a while. You probably saw it in the tail end.
I reckon I did. Yeah.
Just there was only certain things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because they were sort of untouched.
Yeah, you're very selective around the things that gave you pleasure, I guess.
Yeah.
And you had enthusiasm for them, but in terms of anything out there, like I knew at one point how much you hated snapper.
Still do. they actually they scarred me literally. I've got a scar on my leg from an anal spine.
No, but mentally, man.
yeah. They're a very hard species to be successful at, especially in Western Port.
Yeah.
And hats off to anyone
that can just do it.
Yeah.
Day in, day out.
It's a mindset, and it's a big grind.
Yeah. Look, this probably isn't a chat around snapper, but I remember, talking to you back then, where your predictions of like, I got them last night on the flood here. Today, we're going out in the air. There'll be 500 meters down here somewhere, and sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, of course.
Yeah.
But the variability of it, and I guess what might appear randomness, but it's not random at all.
Yeah.
It might be hard to understand.
Yeah.
But probably not random at all.
Oh, my brain don't even try and keep up. But I've got a fisherman's brain. I've been told a few times that people don't understand how I can just come out with stuff, and it's right.
Yeah, I don't know if you're talking shit sometimes. Look, I know this much, that if I say to you sometimes, if we're having a chat and it's like, hey, you want to go for a fish? Yeah. And I'll go, I wouldn't mind go fishing for whiting. And you'll go quiet for about 2 or 3 seconds and go, why would we go fishing for whiting if you're not seeing the tides? And I'm like, no, Grant, I haven't. Tell me. Yeah. Or it's like, okay, if we fish deep.
Yeah.
If you really want to fish for whiting.
Yeah. I'm actually gagging to fish for whiting at the moment. It's been mainly the last month for me. It's just been offshore. We're in,
a lot of offshore.
We've just come out the end of February now. So, it's just been our offshore fishing and chasing kingies and tuna. And I just wouldn't mind relaxing and putting some meat on the deck with some whiting.
Just having a session.
Yeah.
So we're not quite finished with the kind of the Gawaine Blake journey to where we are today. So you put your chartering days behind you a few years ago, and you were running Matt Hunt's boat for a little while. There's other pieces to the story, smaller pieces.
Yeah, there's heaps.
I forget his name. Sorry, Skitsy.
Yeah,
he bought the boat off you. The alley farm.
Breeze brought the alley farm.
Yeah, but you were chip. There's so many.
Went into full-time chipping pretty much. It gave me that opportunity to, go get my 40 hours a week worth of money. Be home each night.
Be dad.
Be dad. Yeah, weekends.
Right.
I don't get forced to go fishing if the weather's shit. I've got time to be around my family and actually watch my girls grow up.
Yeah.
So I've done that. I've progressed very well in carpentry. Became a construction manager at one time. I was running 55 carpenters underneath me. Very successful business with Swell Constructions, and basically built my own house, set myself up, and we've got to the point where we are now as we came out of that COVID. I lost a really good mate during COVID of Reese. And I had a really good chat to him when I went to see him before he died. And basically he just said, what are you doing, man? You're just burning yourself out again. I don't think you're doing it the right way. You should reassess the way you're doing things.
This is Reese to you.
Yeah. On the beach. We both had a cry and basically made a decision as we got into the real heart of COVID that I don't think I want to keep going with carpentry. I'm pretty well set up financially now, and Salt Guide's going really, really well. So just take a step back, go into semi-retirement and guide again. Because I get a massive buzz out of seeing someone get a PB or their first fish. It's unreal. The smile on their face and the elation. And you can't get that same reaction in chartering because there's too many other people involved. There's too much that you've had control of. But when you guide and it's their own boat, might have been in their own rod, the elation that they get from that. Like I've had people so excited they start punching me.
Well, the thing about what you're experiencing in that scenario with a guy where someone catches a good fish or their best or their first of a species, forgive me if this sounds a bit corny, but for that moment you're almost like their dad putting their kid onto a fish.
Yeah, mentor.
Yeah, that kind of relationship that we've if you've got kids, you're lucky enough to have those moments. In a different way, you're getting that with your guiding clients pretty often.
Yeah. Well, definitely with the offshore thing, because a lot of people struggle with kingfish and tuna. So, and we're having a remarkable local tuna system.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, but just off the charts.
Yeah, it's what I imagine the oldies talk about when you used to see those old fishing books and they talk about the rip, for example.
Well, I've had these conversations.
Yeah,
with all these old guys.
And they talk about, and sometimes bluefin in the rip, and you're like, what's this bullshit?
Well, I've seen them in the rip in the 80s, but I've had conversations with the old cooter guys who used to catch barracuda for that was the staple food of Melbourne.
Cooter, absolutely.
Rabbits and cooter.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, we just go out off Barwon Heads and we're getting our tuna, cooter, and then tuna would turn up. And they're bloody things, we used to sell them for cat food.
Yeah.
And they classed barracuda
above
tuna.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
But they didn't know how to look after them. They didn't have ice back then.
Yeah.
It was,
and that's a fair assessment. If you're talking about a bluefin that's laid on the deck, hadn't been gutted, hadn't been bled, hadn't been iced down, it actually is cat food.
It's horrible. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I've only experienced it once with my good mate Mark Wharton Bubba. I think you might know him a little bit through Justin Church.
Yeah.
They used to own a boat together.
Yeah.
Bubba and I were fishing off Bermagui a few years ago, and on the cube, we caught a fish that would have gone probably, I reckon, would have gone 50.
Yeah.
On the cube, rather. And Mark wound it in, and I was getting ready to deal with it, and he's like, "No, I want to weigh it." Okay, your fish, you can weigh it. Now, a number of things happened that night and on the trip back in that we didn't get to weigh it, which is a whole other story for another day. I nearly died. Saved by Scotty at Bermy Bait and Tackle that night. But when we got to filleting that fish, it was disgusting.
Yeah, horrible.
Absolutely disgusting. I'll never do it again. Yeah. Like the fish actually had a semi-cooked look about it, like it had been in a ceviche.
Yeah.
With lime juice and lemon juice, that kind of look to it. It's like, never again. I can see why they say that. But so I'll really quickly mention, don't want to get sidetracked because this could be for another day too. But you heard Gawaine mention Reese.
Yeah.
Now, I've never met Reese, but I feel like I've met Reese because we've spoken a lot online on social media and Facebook, and I knew of your relationship with him, and it's probably only a matter of time. I would have gone to New Zealand with you to meet Reese, but it never happened. But he was a great mate of yours, and really, unfortunately, had a horrible struggle with cancer, and he's obviously a great mate of yours and had a profound effect on you to the point where you've actually named your new boat after him.
Yeah, it's gone a little bit further than that. Me and Reese I'm a bit of a rugby fan, played rugby back in England, and me and Reese used to get into each other, especially Tri Nations.
Yep.
So he was a massive All Black fan. So my boat's all black.
Yeah, gotcha.
Totally all black. Everything that's going on is black. So the boat's all black, and I've named the boat Claxton after Reese.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty special
nice,
to
man.
me. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, that's really nice. I know that was a shit tough time for you, but we might talk about Reese more another day.
Yeah,
there's
probably too many wounds at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't crying on the podcast.
Yeah, you're a couple of rums in. You don't really need that right now. So hang on, where were we? We were getting to guiding.
Yeah,
that's it. So Reese kind of planted this seed in your mind around why you're working so hard.
I've been doing, on and off and part-time for quite some time.
Guiding?
Yeah.
You've guided for a long time.
Yeah, probably 12 years now.
Yeah.
It was something that Reese was trying to get to.
Over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was his dream to actually do what I was doing. So, we had this chat on the beach, and, he told me how scared he was. And it was a wonderful and horrible chat.
Yeah.
You'd ever want to have.
Yeah,
but, yeah, I've taken that decision to now we've got the website for Salt Guide, and I'm just going to literally part-time guide and semi-retirement and fish for myself and my sponsors. I'm very lucky to be sponsored by quite a few amazing companies, and they've stuck by me, I've stuck by them. Relationships as long as 8 years old with sponsors, which
says something, man.
Yeah, it's quite unheard of in some of the fishing game.
Yeah, it is. Some people, change their sponsors and their relationships are very mobile.
Yeah.
But I think it speaks great volumes when someone stays with someone or a brand for a considerable period of time. It speaks of confidence in the product that you're talking about in the first place.
Yeah, it's like any relationship. You got to work at it. Sometimes they might ring you up and say,
"Want something from me?
I need you to do this." Other times you might ring them and go, "I want more."
Yeah,
that's the relationship I feel I've got.
It's a two-way street, isn't it?
So I've been very lucky with that.
Yeah, I on different levels, man. But I've had some relationships in the industry where they've been that way and they go back a decade. Yeah, and it's same thing. It's got degrees of intensity at different times, but it's literally they're not having to worry all the time about you jumping ship or doing this or doing that or why is he doing that. It's just trust.
Yeah, I think that for any younger guys listening into this and want to start relationships with sponsors, probably the biggest thing is never overpromise.
Yeah,
like everything that you plan to do for them, get it done in most contracts are 12 months. Get it done in the first 6 months, because then everything else you're giving them after that's a bonus.
I'll say one other thing about that. We could do a whole podcast on this. But if you're a young guy and you feel a need to be a sponsored angler, the first thing I'd say is examine why you want to be a sponsored angler. Understand what your motivations are. Is it just I want some free shit? Or I want to make a career of this and I want to be involved in the industry and I want to have those partnerships and what become friendships. Like be sure of what you want and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then when you decide, I want to do this, because you are giving a little bit of your soul to do this.
Definitely.
Write a proposal. Get people's names right. Understand what they do, what products they, make, sell, whatever it might be. Understand what you're proposing, understand what they offer in the first instance, and put something logical. Do basically your best English assignment ever and put it forward, and you will win.
But that's not easy for me.
but anyone's best effort is better than an Instagram message. Hey mate, do you sponsor?
Yeah, go direct if you can. And for me, mine was always that. I thought I had more to offer. I thought I could give them more exposure in different ways,
right? And
hopefully, get involved in some design. So I have done that with Froggies and help.
Getting involved in the design phase is cool.
Yeah, and to Froggies, the back Froggies, we have pro meets where the anglers all get together, and we had one probably going back 5 or 6 years ago now, and they asked us, to mention what we'd like to see in new products or how to change products and stuff. And we had that, and then we got together 3 years ago, so 2 years later, and we had heard nothing about any of the stuff that we'd put forward, and they put it on the table in front of us. And
How cool is that?
They developed stuff that we'd actually asked for, and every one of us was just like in awe and shock.
A bit gobsmacked.
Yeah, I mean, it's not named after us, but do you really want something named after yourself? Anyway?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of experience with that with Megabass, where a couple of lures that we've really pushed for and had some involvement in a bit of a say at the table, but it's funny because the way it comes back around, it takes a while, as you know.
Yeah.
The Froglies might be a bit different to Megabass being, an international body versus Froglies being an Australian business. Your idea, does it work for the North America? Because that's where they're going to make their money. Japan's a bit of a secondary interest, and then these other countries like Europe.
Yeah.
And if they think your idea will make them a lot of money around the world, now you got our attention. And then you see a product developed, and then you either go, thank F, that's right, or that's not what I meant.
That happens.
There's a million possibilities, right?
Yeah.
That's just being honest.
Yeah.
That's just being honest
it's
about
how everyone interprets anything in life.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like, as good as social media is, just for that particular tone that you write something can come across so wrong. So if you need to have a direct conversation with someone about something, it's better to pick up the phone.
Oh, in terms of anything critical on someone's. Yeah, for sure, man. I think even your tone in social media on, say, your own posts. Like say Gawaine goes out today and catches a beautiful big kingfish, which he's known for. The words he uses in that caption for that post will determine the impact and how you are perceived by so many people, from the people that love you to the people that hate you.
Yeah. And some people, it will come across as arrogance when it's not arrogance. It's just, I'm very humble for every opportunity I get to catch kingies. More so because, I've seen Reese go, and I did that with Reese, but like my parents could have chosen not to come to Australia. So
could be stuck in England, mate.
I could be stuck in England now, whinging because the pubs aren't even open.
Fishing for place.
Well, I don't even think there's any left. They destroyed their fishery. It's probably carp.
Yeah.
But, I'm very humble about what I'm lucky enough to be able to do, and realise that I've been very lucky to get that right career.
Yeah. It's funny because I know you and I know what you're like, and it's we're kind of off track here a bit, but like on your Facebook profile, you call yourself an introverted extrovert.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean by that. You're confident but humble, but in another hand, you might go, he's a bit full of himself, but you're not.
No, and then other people go, he's weird. He just shuts down and doesn't even talk.
He's just weird.
Yeah. I know.
And then there's Kylie, your wife, who loves to do nothing other than bring you back to earth.
Set me right. Yeah.
But so guiding.
That's way off track. Get away from Kylie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn you, Kylie. She loves to cut anyone down.
Yes.
It's
not hard for you.
No, it's not. And she's probably a good foot taller. So guiding for you now, like I guess you've been doing this as it's either your primary or
it's probably nearly is my full-time gig.
Yeah,
and Salt Guide doesn't take as much
of your time.
Yeah.
So you've done basically the summer or maybe a bit of the spring doing this now. Yeah, it would have been a bit of the spring. It's kept you busy from what I've seen.
Yeah, very. But the boat wasn't here, so
you were between boats.
Yeah,
you sold your V17.
I used that to keep me concentrated, so to speak.
Yeah, I know it was doing your head in not having a boat for a while,
especially during kingy season.
Yeah. And it was an early kingy season. It would have dicked with you.
I knew it was going to be. Yeah, it was very. I've missed a lot of the season, I suppose, and
for a guy who's a kingy specialist, you have missed a lot.
And you don't get many opportunities. So there's another year gone.
Weather windows,
Yeah.
times when you can go.
Yep.
Tides are right. Yeah. It's you kind of you do, because the weather keeps you from offshore often enough. It's a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes when you go, I otherwise could have fished, except for my boat was not here or broken or whatever it might be.
As I get older in life, I realise how much precious time is.
It is, mate.
Yeah.
It's our most important commodity.
Yeah.
Matters more than anything is our time.
Hmm.
So, I think when anyone gives up their time for something or for a cause, it's big.
Yeah.
It's bigger than writing a check.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I think in terms of your guiding world now going forward, autumn's a great time. Autumn's a period usually of stable weather, and you'll have the tuna. They won't end.
The only thing that's
their location will
change.
change.
The bait disappears.
Yeah, so they mightn't be here at the front, but they'll be west. There'll be tuna somewhere. But the kingies at some point will taper off from the inshore at least.
Yeah.
What do you reckon your late autumn into winter looks like in terms of guiding? Back to your bread and butters?
Yeah, it's going to be, your offshore gummies is going to be sensational because our weather patterns are going to swing into those northerly winds. We'll do the Western Port whiting probably till late April, switch into predominantly Port Phillip because that stays warmer. Basically, because Western Port, the average depth in Western Port is 3 metres, whereas the average depth in Port Phillip's around about 16.
Yeah.
So it holds that temperature longer, stays warmer longer. So we'll fish there. And I've got a few trips planned and try and shoot up and down the coast a bit. I'll chase the kingies as long as my bank account will let me.
Are we going to the territory with Ben? You haven't given me an answer on that yet.
I forgot, and I have to have that discussion again with Kylie. I need to take Kylie on a holiday too.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, it's something I want to do. I really want to try Coffs Harbour Kings. So if you're interested.
It's funny you mentioned Coffs Harbour.
Yeah.
It's not the only place on the map, but if I had to give an answer in 10 seconds of where would you like to move to in Australia, I would say Coffs Harbour.
It's unreal. Yeah, it's not about just the Kings. It's about Coffs Harbour itself. But I'd love to just go up and spend a week in that zone.
Spaniards. You've got good billfish.
Yeah.
You've probably got, I reckon, one of the most reliable topwater kingfish areas in the country, and they're good fish.
Yeah.
They're not rats. And for me, you'll be less excited about this, but roughly, good bananas. Okay. And about 3 hours inland, you got Copeland Dam.
Yeah, right.
So you've got a bunch of stuff both directions, and I'm sure there's some deer to hunt there somewhere.
Oh, it's Rooster.
Yeah.
And then you've even got the snapper.
Yeah.
With those phenomenal heads.
Crazy heads.
Photo.
And there, I've seen from mates like Sean Teague and Mike Benici, more snapper caught on like topwater kingfish lures than anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's their fish off bombies.
Yeah. Round back of the islands and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
And they're coming up and smacking, 200 mil stick baits off the surface.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Let's chat about that again for sure. So that's what guiding looks like for you. We talked about Salt Guide. Give us a quick rundown on your new boat.
Obviously, when we started Salt Guide, Craig had a stadium craft. And
there's 3 of you in Salt Guide, right?
Yeah, there's Aaron Habgood, Craig, he's behind the scenes, and myself.
And you employ Chris?
Yeah, Chris is a contractor. Yeah.
Yep.
So obviously with guiding, I get to go on pretty much any boat you can imagine.
Yep.
I've done guides in 4.5 metre tinnies, right up to 74-foot Rivieras. Both that spectrum wanted snapper.
I bet you've been scared at times. We'll talk about guiding in a minute, but this is about your boat. Yeah.
So, and I've got to the point in life where I can slow down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need, and you'd vouch for this, I could drive like a maniac.
Yes, you can.
Probably faster and get to places most people won't.
If it wasn't you, I would have been scared.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I've gone for an 1850 Fisher in the Stavy class. It's a runabout. It's a new model. I don't want to sell it too hard, but it's a new model. So the newer model's got 25% more deck room. They've pushed the cabin forward. They've gone from the 1850 width out to the 2100 width.
Okay.
So I've got a lot bigger width.
So your helm's forward. It's super wide.
Yeah. So floor space is huge.
Yep.
It's got more floor space than the 2400 Super Cab, fishing floor space. And because they've pushed it out wider and they've lifted the floor slightly, it's given it a 150 litre tank.
Yeah, wow.
So it started ticking all these boxes. You know, I've been using Mercury now for 6 years with the 17, so I knew what the capabilities were of the Merc, and I'm starting to do all the numbers. The tinny's going to slide more than the 17 used to drag through the water, so I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to have 300 k's plus range. So it all started adding up. The Stavy Craft were really happy with what we've done with Craig's boat. Craig actually went into a 2050. I contacted them, put a proposal through, and they've asked me to be an ambassador for them. So
cool.
I brought a boat with a ambassador dealership, deal, like a discount.
So you paid for it, but got it at a good price.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've built the boat to survey. So if I ever want to, I'll put it in survey, do the odd charters, just inshore stuff. But I've gone no holds barred. Everything that I want in a boat this time, because this is my office now. This is what I'm retired to. So light bars, twin head units, live scope, the Garmin live scope, like that's off its head. I can see the kingies come up to my live bait and take the live bait.
That footage you put up the other week, you think you were down east somewhere, you put up some footage of
the yakkers.
The yakkers.
And you could see them coming up on the screen.
Oh, how cool was that?
Yeah. So that's some of the stuff I see. And a lot of times, you know me too, it's more about the capture than trying to get it on footage.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of that. So I want to try and start doing more screen records, but you can literally see your live bait or your downrigger bomb. You can see the live bait behind it. You can see the kings come up under the boat as you go, because with live scope, it's 135 degrees. So it's around about 15 degrees back off the hull, off the transom and shooting forward. So you can see them before you're going to see them on traditional.
How good's that?
And you'll see them come past, you'll see them go past the bomb. They turn around, swim back up to the bomb first. And as they sort of lose interest, they go back. And then two or three just peel off. There's a live bait. And you'll see a king out of the pack of three shoot sideways. And then I can turn around and literally watch the rod beam from dead flat to load up and the drag screaming before anyone else even knows it's going to happen.
That's so cool. It actually takes me back a little bit to when Al McGlashan kind of started his strike zone stuff with the tow cam footage of the kings just following, yakkers or Islamis or whatever he had. I think he did some stuff with squid as well. The amount of time that they would spend following before they would commit.
Yeah, and what LiveScope's done for me now is I'm not fooled by traditional anymore, where traditional is like, is that kings? Is that a rat king pack or is that pike?
Yeah.
With LiveScope, you can see the shape of that fish and the way it's reacting, and you just know straight away it's a pike or a king.
Yeah.
So it takes the second guessing out of it. It makes you want to work that area a bit harder. So I've got that. I've gone 135 Merc, which is the biggest I can fit on my hull. And then you went the Profish package, which is pretty much everything you can think of. It has twin eskies, comes with twin eskies, the EVA deck, full paint, live bait tank, winch, everything's there. And it fits in my garage. So it's just ticks all the boxes for me.
What's Stabby's production times like? Because I know a lot of boat manufacturers on the back of COVID are like, I've heard of some brands, they won't even take your order now.
So they're still taking orders. What's happened is each dealership gets a build slot.
Yeah.
So it's not so much about when they can build that hull, it's when that dealer can get that hull. I know my model because it's a new model and we've given it a little bit of exposure in the 4 weeks I've had it. they've got 22 models sold down at MY Marine, so they're out now till next year. But saying that, Stavey Craft have come under a new management system. They've streamlined the way they're building their boats. They're putting 1,200 boats out a year, I think now, something like that.
Yeah, that's a fair amount.
And it's a team. So there's a team of 3, I think, that build my hull, and that's the only.
It's their boat.
That's the only hull they ever do.
They see it through.
Yeah, so they can build two complete hulls every 3 days. They start one and have it pretty much finished, and then they're just finishing off windscreens and stuff like that. And then that's like halfway through the next day, and then they start another one.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then it goes from there, obviously, to paint and fit up and stuff like that.
Hopefully, Stabby, they won't be immune from this, but, can turn out boats and people can place orders and they can get a boat within a reasonable time. So I know some of, everyone will have slightly different circumstances, but presumably a lot of it relates to materials, I guess.
Material costs have gone up. I know Stavey have had a price rise because obviously shipping's slowed.
Mm.
I don't know if you've noticed.
Nah, shipping's screwed, mate.
Yeah, but have you noticed the size of the ships?
No, I haven't.
They're smaller.
Yeah, right.
So all the stuff that's coming through the Rip again are all back to the old original size ones from 10 years ago.
Those half size
pre-dredging.
Yeah,
so they've shrunk down. The mega ships or the super ships aren't running as much. So that means costings of shipping's gone up. So there's a lot going on.
I believe it's there's a projection of a period of time not that far down the track where all the containers of the world won't be in China.
Yeah,
they're all going to be out here, all around the global network, but out of the hub of shipping, there's no containers.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, things are pretty nuts. But she's all Garmin equipped.
Yeah, full Garmin. There's still some stuff coming.
We sim rate on this show, but everyone gets their say. I know Garmin's your supporter, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I get to use it all in guiding. Everything.
Yeah, you see it all.
Everything works. Everything has its benefits. Like, it's probably for another talk, but we could talk about sounders and how the sounders work. Like, I grew up using landmarks and a paper reader.
You're sounding old, mate. You sound like my old man.
Yeah, we used to turn it inside out and upside down. My first ever sounder, color sounder, cost me something like $16,000. And the screen was like
how much?
16,000. The screen was something like a iPhone Galaxy sort of size screen, but the box for it was like the size of a microwave.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, my first mobile phone was in a suitcase, and that cost like $5,000.
Yeah. They're ridiculous. I remember them things.
Yeah.
The fair effort to carry them things around.
No, I was just in the boat. It was just making sure that the buyers were coming in, making sure it's worth coming in.
So, talked about your boat. I want to speak real briefly. I was going to talk to you about Kingfish, but I reckon I'll get you back for that because that's probably a show. But the notion of guiding in Victoria. So you got charter operators that I guess they've at least got to have a ticket.
Yeah, and as a skipper, you need a minimum as a coxswain's ticket,
and you got to have a boat and survey.
Yes, that's correct.
Presumably you've
for its correct survey.
Yeah, for the zone you're running in, either inshore or offshore, how far offshore you get. Your boat matches your ticket, matches your survey. Yeah. The regulations for a guide in Victoria are non-existent, aren't they?
No,
there's something.
There was only a ruling year before last that they decided that guiding was legal because
who did that answer?
Yes, because they had no a ruling on it whatsoever.
It was silent, wasn't it?
Yeah,
there's just
guiding is legal, but there is no ruling of what qualifications you have.
So okay, it's not you're not conducting a illegal activity, but they have no regs around it. Yeah. Okay.
There is a guiding guild in Queensland.
Yeah. Is that for Queensland?
Yeah, it's for Queensland.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no.
So it's a loose concept here.
It's very loose in just the charter industry itself.
In and even the term guide. So Ben Carroll, our mate in the Territory who runs a barrow boat, he kind of considers himself a guide.
Yeah, so that's
but he's more charter.
That's more of an American
style. American style guide. See,
Yeah.
Cam McGregor, a great friend of mine, runs River Escapes. He's an inland guide. He'll take you float tubing. He'll take you on his bigger boat, which is that's nearly 6 meter long, inland vessel, in survey, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When you get on his float boat, you know what a float boat is with the oars.
Yeah.
Full safety brief, PFD's on, it's done right.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a charter, but it's a one-on-one service, and he calls himself a guide, River Escapes. But then there's this notion of a guide like what you're doing, which is I will jump on your boat, you take the wheel.
Yeah.
I will tell you and instruct you and teach you the art of fishing.
Yeah. And I'll admit, I will take the wheel to show them things. So even to anchor on Pacific Mark, I'll show them how to do it.
Yep.
And then I'll ask them to replicate it. And we'll do that up to an hour until they're happy, or I'm happy that they're getting it right. So
because it's a skill, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's a skill.
To be honest, if you go past guiding, I would recommend that there should be a recreational course for just guys that get their boat license.
Yeah.
How to dock a boat. What
how to back a trailer.
Yeah. What needs to be right before you go at it. It's someone in Victoria just seems to be like, yeah, thanks. Here's a bit of paper, give us your money and move on.
It's a massive gap. Especially if you compare it to cars. Before you can get your car license, you got to get 160 hours as a learner up. It's all logged, etc. You got to pass these tests. Yeah, okay. It's a boat user. You still pass a test, but there is no aptitude test.
No.
It's purely, do you understand these small elements of the law?
Yeah.
That is no assurance whatsoever of your skill as a skipper.
No.
So I guess the service you're offering, I know you got a number of tiers, but I know one of them is basic boatmanship, isn't it?
Yeah. Boatman skills, how to understand your unit, your sounder, how to use your own vessel. Because, I've been on quite a lot of guides where people are quite happy to just say, I hate this boat and I'm selling it. And you're like, hang on, why? You start going through things, and the one recently, and I don't want to name the guy, so he was getting pressure from his mates for the boat he had that's being known as like the boat that bangs and stuff. And I'm like, mate, what's your style of fishing? What do you want to do? And his answer is, I want to chase kings. I'm like, mate, you're doing 1.5 knots. When is it banging? This boat does not move. It's like a floating pontoon.
Mm-hmm.
Just fix it up. Add the things that you want. Put the slimy tubes in. Like, look at getting a second live bait tank. Start saving for another motor. Add what you want to do into your electronics. But why blow that boat? You're never going to get the money back that you spent on it. You're better off investing more in that vessel to make it right. So that's what I like try and do with guides, and show them what the best they can get out of that vessel.
Yeah. It's I guess anything. It could almost be seen as like, what's the right word for this? It's almost like, we'll go out in your boat. We'll go anchor up here. I know the fish are on here, and you'll catch a fish.
Yeah.
Almost in that context of like chartering.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's guiding.
No,
versus all the way back, I'll teach you how to drive it. I'll teach you how to anchor. I'll teach you how to read your sounder. I'll teach you how to understand the water.
Yeah, I've heard of guides literally saying, turn your phone off, put it on the dash. We're going to this mark. You can't come back here, but we'll catch fish.
Well, that's a charter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a complex thing. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic. I know that there's the variances within people that call themselves a guide. For people like you got a ticket, you got insurance, and you got a ton of experience that goes back to these commercial days.
I'd rather be in control of your boat than the car, because I reckon I've got better experience driving boats than cars.
Yeah. But then that ranges through to people who it's always got to be someone's first day guiding, and this is no criticism, but you might look at some guides and you go, the question should be, are you qualified to do that?
Yeah.
Do you have the skills and knowledge that someone should, be paying you money to go out and take instruction from you in terms of all those things like boat handling, boat safety, understanding, reading the water, I guess, take it to extremes, doing things like going out through the rip, which can be a hell of a treacherous piece of water.
Oh yeah. Like I still feel uncomfortable taking certain, customers through the rip because I just,
in their boats,
yeah,
I feel very uncomfortable
because straight away I can see their abilities because they haven't got the experience already of going through rip. And if they're looking at their phone and shit, I'll just turn around. Well, I've had it. The guys are looking at their phone. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm trying to teach you. It's one of the most treacherous waters in the world, and you're too busy looking at Facebook or whatever, see what everyone else is catching. I'm turning around. We're not going out. So, yeah, and obviously the boat's abilities too.
You must get on some frightful boats.
Back in the day when I started, I did, but now it's a lot more homework, a lot of back and forth texts at the start of a booking.
What have you got? What's it like?
Yeah, what you got?
Yeah, okay.
And let's face it, I'm probably the top tier price-wise.
Yeah, you would be.
So the guys with the lesser boats seem to go with the cheaper guys.
Probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Sliding scales of economy there. And guys, anyone listening to this isn't a criticism of anyone who's venturing into guiding. It's just an encouragement to make sure your shit's right, I guess. And you know what you're talking about.
I've got all the right insurances.
Yeah.
I don't ever go to take anyone on a guide somewhere I've never been because I want...
That's exploration.
Yeah, I want... it's my experience. I want to make sure my experience is up to that level that I can comfortably guide someone. It's not just you're taking someone's money, you're actually giving them advice that could potentially endanger them afterwards.
Well, it's simple as I know you spend a lot of time offshore Western Port.
Yeah.
Out through the Western Entrance. On its day, the Western Entrance can be as bad as a rip.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah, you can.
So your guide with them this week and your description of what to do and what the right tide and beware of these swell conditions, if they didn't hear you right or get it wrong, they could put themselves in a very ordinary position very soon after that. And Gawaine showed me how to do this,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I know that.
There's a bit on that, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a lot of responsibility.
I've got the insurances there to cover that.
Yeah.
But hopefully, touch wood, none of that ever happens.
No, for sure. But I think it's the things that people, it's in their desire to learn. That's how I see these services. It's about learning. I think if you are like, I just want a good fish and I want Gawaine or this guide to go and put me on that good fish, I think you probably belong on a charter.
Yeah, correct.
But if you want to learn, if you want to be a better angler, because no criticism of charters either, they fulfill a very essential service. There are so many people out there that either don't have the right boats or they don't have a boat and they want to go fishing. They give them the platform to do that. But I do question sometimes you're getting that experience. Hopefully you're getting to wine in the fish that you want of your dreams. Good on you, ripper. Question maybe sometimes the learning experience out of a charter.
Yeah, well, there's definite charter operators that don't fancy me because they're losing work because I'm potentially teaching their clients.
Yeah, can see that.
To do it themselves.
Can definitely see that in terms of there's less demand for, just taking people fishing if people know how to fish themselves and they've got boats. Yeah, get it.
But then saying that, I've got a lot of guide customers that still go on charter because they got 5 mates that want to go fishing. Yeah. Or they can't be bothered with that guy and his mate on their boat. So
or literally,
work breaker.
I go on different charters around the world. They look differently because they're top water charters where you're doing the fishing, but you're still being taken to somewhere to the mark.
Yeah, that's right.
Essentially, if you're traveling, you got no choice unless you got a mate at the other end that you go fishing with. If you're going here or there or you're going out of state, you step on a charter boat.
That's right.
We
go with Ben Carroll.
Yeah,
we book a charter with
correct. They fulfill an amazing service, and thank goodness for them. Like, sometimes I wonder, do we need that many? But hey, if they're all good jobs,
that's for another talk.
That's for another talk. It's for another time. But man, we've been talking and talking. Kingfish for another time, I reckon. We'll get you back in a couple of weeks, and we'll download the brain of Gawaine. I've done a couple of Kingy talks with you, and I do more listening to you than I do talking. So if you want, we'll get you back for that.
Yeah.
Do that. Closing thoughts?
Enjoy life. It's too short.
Yeah, you're living, breathing example of that now. How old are you?
46.
46, and in a state of semi-retirement fishing utopia. I'm very, very jealous, mate.
If you can find a way to spend more of your life doing what you love, definitely become a lot happier. Your stress levels have just totally changed.
You've made it, and in terms of happiness and fulfillment.
Yes,
because people's different interpretations. Oh, that guy's made it. Could be, he's got a lot of money.
Yeah, money's not an object.
You just need enough.
Yeah,
I've learnt this about life, that life's easier with money.
It definitely is.
In terms of, you can buy those toys, you can do those things. You need money.
I know people that make a hell of a lot of money.
They're not very happy.
I do not want their life.
No,
I don't want their their happiness is nowhere near the same.
No, fully agree on that. But you just need enough.
Yeah.
And you're enough, my enough, the next person's enough. Will all look different in terms of your.
And don't get me wrong, everything comes with work. You got to work hard. You got to set goals. You got to work your ass off. Nothing comes easy, and there is a new world of entitlement. And guess what, guys? It didn't come easy. I fought for everything. 3 jobs at certain times. So.
Yeah, the knowledge that you've got of, say, if you zone it down to, say, Western Port, because I think in the terms of, say, that waterway alone, you'd be in very rare company in terms of your capacity to nut it out and know what's going on any given day and how to fish for a species.
There's people I still look up to.
Of course there is.
Port.
Let's not pretend there's not. There are some old-time gurus.
They seem to be more locked in on a certain species.
Yeah, it might be all species dependent.
To be known as an all-rounder.
Yeah, you're Gawaine, the guy who loves kingfish, but man, can he smash whiting and offshore gummies and blah 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 blah.
And all of that's just taken mental dedication to lock in on it.
Yeah, and the point I want to make in terms of that age of entitlement, which I do agree with you, there's a lot of that. But in terms of that knowledge, you can't just get given that. People might get
some on the salt guide.
That you might get a mark, right?
Yeah.
So say someone has Gawaine Blake's GPS library. They don't know what they do. Yeah, some do.
There's a few that do.
Some do.
Good luck to them.
Do they know how to fish them?
Or when? Or why?
Or when or why?
Some of them don't even know what it is because the mark doesn't tell you what it is. So they don't even know what they're fishing for when they go to that mark.
Yeah. But the point being, there's only one way to buy all that, and that's your time on the water.
Yeah.
And I know in your brain, there's a lot of donut sessions. There's a lot of trial and error, things that didn't work. And
still miss. Yeah. To be honest, nowadays, if I miss, I don't take it to heart. I actually learn from it. I'm like, right, so what could I have changed there?
I used to take donuts to heart. It was more to do with I had such limited time that when I donated, it disappointed me so much because I knew how long it might be till I could go again. That killed me.
Yeah, well, that's with the guides. So I'll probably take a donut on a guide a lot harder than I do a man.
That's different because you've got expectation of that person who's paying.
Yeah.
You want them to be fulfilled and, happy customers. But I was talking more on a personal fishing level there, that if I donut now, it's a learning experience. You're debriefing the crap out of it, trying to work out
think about more of what happened and why when you donut than when you just smack a big fish.
Yeah.
The big fish is just get on the beers, that's all cool, high five each other.
It is.
And you don't actually probably take the time to reflect back of how that happened.
And why. Yeah. For me, when I fish in a successful trip, I want to go again. But when I go and have an unsuccessful trip, I want to go harder. That's what it does to me.
Well, very early seasons, especially with snapper, I donut quite a lot by myself.
Yeah, you go early.
And I go home and Kyla will just say, "You're going tomorrow." She just knows. She's like, "You're going tomorrow," as in get out and go again.
Yeah.
Because she knows I'll just be, uptight and
unbearable,
trying to work it out. And she's better off like, "You're on the water, just go get it done."
Yeah, just go and work it out, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows you and you'd be unbearable.
Yeah. I can be a grumpy bastard.
Righto, guys. We'll wind it up there. That's first ever podcast with one. Is it your first ever podcast ever?
Yeah, I didn't even know what one was. It was quite easy.
It's funny. I used to hear about these podcast things years ago. What the hell's that? And why would anyone listen to one? But now they're a thing, man.
Yeah, next time really I won't come with a suit. I might wear a dress.
Well, no one will know. All right, guys. Check in next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Outflow by Ebb Tide Tackle. Subscribe to the podcast to listen to other episodes and stay up to date with new releases. And don't forget to rate and review.